Can you believe your ears? Sure you can. That's what ear training is all about. In episode 73, we began a discussion on secondary 7 chords. Continuing that discussion, we will now add the 7 of 3 and the 7 of 6 chords. This is Music Student 101. Here are your hosts, Jeremy Burns and Matthew Scott Phillips.
And welcome back to Music Student 101.
Welcome back.
Matt, how are you, sir?
I'm doing all right. Another semester is coming to a close, the close of the worst year ever. Which was a condition not in the control of me or any of my students or anything like that, for sure, but it has definitely been challenging. And
Isn't that true? If things are just lame and you have nothing or no control over them, at least when it's your fault, you could be like, okay, gee, come on, dude, get it together.
Yeah. If it's my fault, I can say, I need to get it together and up my game a little bit here, But it's just, I mean, there's nobody to blame. There's nobody to it's just a evil plague spread across the whole planet, and there's just nothing to be done about it. But right now, as we're sitting here, the plan is to go back to in-person teaching in the fall, so next year. So that would be almost incontrovertibly better, undeniably better, in almost any objective or subjective way. So hopefully that happens.
Wow, still a good ways away before they're ready to do that, huh?
Yeah. Well, summer is kind of a weird thing anyway. I mean, a lot of classes and a lot of summer classes are moved online anyway, just because it's summer, and so that's kind of a strange situation, kind of a weird sort of not really going on, sort of going on, but not really going on. School is so.
Did you just get finished teaching a class?
I did. I just got finished with, it was a composition lesson, as a matter of fact.
Oh, really?
Yes.
In my mind, I said, should we wait until another day to do this because Matt might be exhausted? Because today is we're doing something a little bit different today. Actually, I'm a little bit excited about this. Actually, this is a harmonic progression episode, a harmonic ear training.
The big difference being,
we joke a lot about Jeremy torture.
Mm-hmm.
Some of us more so than others, and that's normally where we're doing harmonic progressions episodes, and Matt is actually playing the piano and doing the lesson. Then at the end, we do exercises where I actually take my little test and have to try and see if I can get the chord progressions right. Now, in this case, Matt will be the tortured. What's the
tortured?
The tortured, yeah.
This is Matt torture. I am going to be tortured.
But I wonder if it's going to be more like just a massage to you, because you're pretty deep into your music ear training and theory and all that stuff.
Well, we'll find out. I'm pretty rusty, but this is me trying to put my money where my mouth is. So we'll see what happens.
Part of me, as I was writing down these little progressions, I said, I kind of wish that I was.
You were really trying to mess me up, weren't you? I mean, you were really like saying, let's see if I can really just totally get, an impossible.
No, I was happy to get by just to do proper voice leading on some of these crazy chord progressions. But I did think to myself, now, I think that I would actually have done okay in this one myself, because I know when I hear a diminished chord. And
that's always reassuring.
So I feel like I would at least know where that chord is. Now what comes after it, we'll see, we would see.
We'll see what happens.
Because a diminished triad itself could go to 3 different places, couldn't it?
Easily.
Mm-hmm.
Easily. So it's when you get into diminished chords, it's not even really about where they're going. It's kind of about, I mean, it is, but it's kind of about where they're going, not that it's a diminished chord, so you can't predict just based on the quality what's going to happen.
And while it's fresh on my mind, I guess I'll do a quick thing here. Like if we're in C, if we make, let's do A minor, because we'll have a 2 diminished chord.
Okay.
This 2 chord, it could actually go to either this chord right here, the 3. This 2 chord, again, it'd be diminished in A minor.
Mm-hmm.
It could go to this E flat chord, because D is the leading tone to E flat.
Right.
And it could go to, an F sharp or a G flat. So...
yeah. It can tonicize any note that is a half step away from any of those chord tones.
So maybe that would be where I would have had a challenge here. But I think I would know when those secondary 7 chords arrive. But
yeah.
We'll get into all that in a little bit, shall we?
Let's get into it in a little bit. First, though, before I am marched to my execution here, we do have listener mail.
We do. Our little social moment here. We have, first off, we have a new review. Matt, would you like to read the new review?
Absolutely. This is a 5-star review, comes from Mary. And Mary says, "These guys are amazing. I am an organist and was trying to prepare for the AGO colleague exam." I'm not sure what exam that is. But she continues, "My theory background was a bit lacking and not up to the required level. These podcasts were exactly what I needed. I was able to pass the exam with great scores, in large part because of your help." Oh, yay. Congratulations, Mary. We always love to hear that. Thank you so much for making it so much fun along the way, too. Who knew theory could be fun? Right?
Yeah. And hey, I'll tell you what, as much as I'll take a good compliment about our charm and senses of humor all day long, and keep them coming. Seriously, what I really enjoy the most is to hearing things like this, because it really, to hear that someone's actually making good grades and passing exams with great scores.
Yeah. And benefiting from our banter. Yeah, absolutely. And Mary, while your theory may be needing a bit of shoring up, I'll tell you this: my knowledge and understanding of the organ can be better. It's so funny that she says I'm an organist, and I've been doing my best to research the traditional church organ for some pieces I'm writing. And wow, talk about a whole world. I was just in over my head so quickly. So yeah, maybe one day you can help me out and teach me a little bit about the organ. And
my friend Glennie worked at the Alabama Theater before the whole COVID thing put it into that, and they have an organ team over there. And there's a gentleman that we will hopefully be talking to about this at some point, because she goes in there on Saturdays and just kind of helps them out while they do the maintenance on those organs. And she's taken pictures and shown them to me, and it's like something that an alien built or created. Just how complex and all the different places these little connections go, and the methods by which the little magnets and things disengage and re-engage to open up the pipes, and things I have very limited understanding of, as you could probably tell. That's going to change.
Yeah, my understanding of the construction is very, very, very limited. I've been doing research on the different stops and things, because you have like the principal stops and then the flute stops and chorus reeds and other reeds and 16-foot stops and 8-foot stops and registrations and couplers and all of this stuff. And wow, and it's different on every single organ that exists in the world, and it's just so much to know about. I got in over my head very, very fast, but I've really started to appreciate, the different nuances of sound, because I guess for a lot of my life, I figured, okay, the Baroque, the organ was basically, all right, Baroque, Adagio, Church, and Phantom of the Opera. It might as well just have those three as far as Yeah. But now I'm getting into all of these different kind of, nuances of what it sounds like. And it's a really amazing instrument that I can't wait to know more about. So,
And I was able to slip a quick Google. That could only be the American Guild of Organists.
The American Guild of Organists. I should have known that.
Me too, probably.
Because right, yeah, and I was on that website researching organs at one point. So yeah, I really should have known that.
Makes sense.
There you go.
Well, Mary, thank you again for that wonderful review.
Indeed.
So, meanwhile, over in Patreon, we have ourselves a friend we would like to thank.
Mm-hmm.
Patreon patron Max Wilsey out of Seattle, Washington, and I think this is our first Max to write in or to support us. So, hey, first Max. Let's see here. Max says, "I'm so happy to support you, Matt, and the podcast. Easiest $5 I ever spent." We have ourselves a perfect fifth member.
Excellent, thank you, Max.
I am a nearly done computer science PhD student at the University of Washington. My own music journey began about 2 years ago when I rented a banjo on a whim. I'm from Georgia, so I've always appreciated that Appalachian country sound. Now I'm playing and very much still learning clawhammer banjo and more recently bluegrass guitar. All great stuff, man. All great stuff.
Yeah.
Our friend Colin took flat picking lessons from Glenn Tolbert, an amazing bluegrass flat picker in town.
Wow.
And just
that's great.
It was amazing to see what he came up with after the time he spent with that gentleman.
I bet.
It's amazing stuff. Anyways, Max continues. Just a couple of weeks ago, I picked up an OP1 sequencer synth on a great deal, and I'm hoping to find some time to learn a little about and maybe even make some electronic music inspired by all the great lo-fi hip-hop stuff happening right now. I started listening to the podcast very soon after I started learning, as I was coming from basically no musical experience at all. So pretty much all the music theory I've got is due to the podcast. Isn't that cool?
It is.
I love everything you guys have going with the podcast. The material is great, tons of examples, and the right amount of repetition for the casual listener, which is a great when walking or running, etc. And yes, many digressions, with a smiley face. I really do find it to be the perfect balance of easy listening, educational, and entertaining. Best wishes from a big fan, Max.
Well, thank you so much, Max, for the support and the kind words. I could sit here and say that one day we will do a podcast with no digression at all. And the whole podcast will be like, 15 minutes long, and will just be bullet points of music theory stuff. But that's not going to happen, right?
Sure, and it's a digression when we get into this digression stuff, so we'd have to plan for a podcast where we do that.
Yeah, the best we can do is try to make the digression still on the subject of music.
Yeah. Sometimes we do that. But so real quick, a little thing about Patreon, which Max is now a member and a cherished member. It's just kind of like a monthly donation kind of support kind of site where you can go on and give whatever amount you choose on a monthly basis. And it helps us out. It helps us keep the lights on, helps keep us in coffee, and it's got some cool perks. It's worth checking out. Go to patreon.com/musicstudent101.
Yeah, definitely. And what are those perks again?
TBD for the most part, but I do know that if you're $1 plus $1 or $2 a month, you can get into the site and watch some of the cool videos and hear some of our special bonus episodes. And for $3, you're going to get something cool. We're going to send you either a mug or some kind of, I think we're going to stick with the drinkware thing. You know, it's a good conversation piece. But like I said, mugs are kind of slim right now. So I'm trying to figure out what to do about that. As I have for the past 2 months. I really procrastinate way too much. But either way, there's that. And then for $5 a month, people can ask us a question and we'll do like a mini episode on it. And that's a lot of the material that you will see when you open up the page. Requests and questions.
And videos of Jeremy and his really cool house band playing the bumper music to episodes and stuff like that.
Some cool little things like that. Absolutely. And before we get out of the Patreon scene, I do want to say thanks to Ashish Mukherjee, and I think that's our first Ashish, from Oakland, California. Ashish has been with us on Patreon for a while now. They found us on Reddit, and they say, as a beginner, I drop in and out of music. It's tough to feel completely incompetent on a daily basis. Sounds like a struggling musician, but the struggle is real and we all struggle.
Yeah, we all struggle. Some of us have just been struggling for longer.
Mm-hmm. But they say that the podcast helps, and they just want to say thanks. So thanks again, Ashish.
Yeah,
from Oakland.
Thank you so much. Yeah. And we also have some listener mail.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
And this comes from Jeff Williams, a.k.a. Remley.
Now, this one gets interesting, Matt. I can't wait to hear your take on this.
Okay, let's see here. Remley says, I love your podcasts. I'm a fellow Alabamian and bass player. Oh, look at that.
Mm-hmm.
Though I've mostly played guitar for the last 5 or 6 years. I decided 20 years ago to quit repairing instruments and amplifiers and occasionally gigging and running sound because I'm not a night person and driving a semi-truck for a living paid better.
Mm-hmm.
I bet.
Mm-hmm.
But I've kept learning more theory and still have a passion for becoming better at honing my skills, though I'll likely never do anything musically meaningful. Well, it depends on your definition of the word, right?
If I may interject, if it's musical, it's meaningful.
It's meaningful, yeah. That's our new motto.
That's my opinion.
There. That's the new podcast motto.
Mm-hmm.
My dad was a gigging and recording professional bass and guitar player / teacher for 50 years before he died last year. Since Dad died, I don't have any musician friends to bounce ideas off of, as I stepped away from any serious musical aspirations 2 decades ago. But I do have an above-average layman's concept of music theory. That being said, I've noticed that there is a marked difference in the way people speak and how compelling they are and how they draw people in or repel them. Americans... Oh boy. Americans seem to speak in major keys to me and typically lack tritones and chord extensions. That's interesting. As a Southerner who has a minor speech impediment and a very prominent B4 overtone in my speaking voice, or at least that's what I hear, I thought my oral analysis skills are weak. On the rare occasions that I get the opportunity to jam with other musicians, I notice that I and others similar to myself tend to quickly endear an audience when in a public speaking scenario and people simply feel compelled to listen. It's similar to the original Uncle Fester on the Addams Family. He was ugly, but you couldn't not like him. And we were probably instantly endeared to him based upon his vocal overtones and the preferred cadence of his speech, which I can't identify as I'm not a classically trained musician, but rather a jazz player. That's an interesting idea. Well, there's a couple of interesting ideas in there. The idea of naturally appealing overtones, or so this sort of speaks to the psychological perception, the emotional perception we have of sound concepts, and by extension, music concepts. My first instinct would be to wonder if those are not culturally based.
Yes.
Right?
That's what I was kind of thinking.
Yeah. So from people from Western cultures are sort of enculturated to think of one set of sounds as musical, right? Whereas other people from other cultures are enculturated towards other sounds. The thing about Americans speaking in major keys, the lack tritones. I don't know. That's a very. I've never thought about that. That's a very interesting observation.
I've never listened for that, honestly. I guess I would never thought to listen for that. Now I do know that, like, for example, the Chinese language is very sing-songy to some degree, and I think pitch means something different. Like,
if I'm not mistaken, the pitch can actually change the meaning of the word.
Yeah. So there are different cultures that have languages that I think are more musical, but I've never actually. I don't know how you would sit down and analyze them unless you just had like perfect pitch or something like that. Anyway, I'm sorry. Continue. We digress.
Yeah. Okay. So Remley continues, this being said, as a former soldier stationed in Germany who interacted regularly with British soldiers, they have a hugely attractive voice, which I attribute in my mind to English and largely British peoples on the whole favoring minor scales when speaking versus Americans favoring major scales. And for all my limited ear training skills, I might assume that I have a major seventh overtone when it's actually a fourth or etc. I've also noticed that Michiganians have unusually compelling and calming quality in their voices. There again, I'm hearing a minor 7 flat 5 to one sort of resolution in ending phrases. That's interesting. Could you possibly at some point explore the vocal speaking habits of Americans and Brits from different regions and why certain speaking voices are so endearing and others repulsive? It's a seemingly out there concept, but honestly, if I were in a band and could say to the keyboard player, guitarist, let's play that line but with a British accent and be understood and vice versa, I think it would be helpful as a musician. Just a thought.
That's my favorite.
Oh yeah, fascinating idea. Like I said, I've almost, especially when you start to talk about one set being endearing and the other repulsive, my strong inclination is to think there's a culture aspect to that, and there's a familiarity concept to that, right? I mean, so the voices you heard as a small child and what they sound like probably have a lot to do with whether they're repulsive or endearing to you, you know?
Sure. Or just what you're surrounded with in general, the culture you've been immersed in all your life. Where you go to another place, everything sounds strange and scary. Some might consider that repulsive.
I mean, just anecdotally, people often say they're annoyed when people talk like this, where everything sounds like a question because they keep going up in pitch at the end of every sentence. And that gets really annoying after a while. You can think of that as almost being like a half cadence every time, right?
Yeah.
So the thought is never completed by the downward sloping. I don't know. I don't know.
Half cadence. That's what you're saying. So, like, if we talked about the cadence being like the question and wanting to resolve to this thing, but you're saying that it would just like when people do that and raise their voice like they're always asking a question. There's no declaration. There's no resolve.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
And at the same time, if you say everything authoritatively. Like everything is the end of a question. Then you sound really weird when you talk. And that can also be off-putting.
It's very off-putting. So, it's intimidating.
Yeah, right. It's intimidating. All those perfect. I don't know. It's an interesting idea. I don't know if we'd ever make it to, can you say that with a British accent? I think you're probably better off saying, can we play that in minor?
I would stick with that.
But it's an interesting idea, one that I would like to know more about.
He was saying he speaks in the B4, somewhere in this register. That's middle C. That's the one, right? Middle C, C4, right?
Typically, yeah. So that's the B right below middle C.
Somewhere in there.
I sort of speak maybe a fourth below that, something.
Fourth below, huh? E? Oh, a fourth below. Look at me.
Yeah. Well, anyway.
That's funny.
Maybe Remley should come do this ear training episode. He sounds better than me. I think you should get him.
Or at least if you can, just run an analysis on our voices and get back in.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, I would be fascinated to know what my voice sounds like.
Huh. think I'm somewhere in between this low. No, I'm not that low. I don't know.
Well, you know what it sounds like in your head is going to be different than what other people hear. So
that is a good point.
But who knows? Yeah. I desperately try to avoid hearing myself speak because I sound lame. So.
Yeah. Well, I think we all think that way about ourselves. But I do love listeners who think outside the box like that. That is just a very
absolutely
unique observation, and kind of challenges some of my own ideas. Not challenges, but inspires.
Interesting to think about. Yeah. Well, speaking of having good ears.
Yes, I guess it's time to get into this episode and talk a little bit about it, huh?
I guess it is.
Okay, well, so thanks again, Jeff Williams, a.k.a. Remley.
Thank you, Mr. Remley.
We do appreciate that. Another Alabama friend.
Another Alabamian.
A couple of one more little thing before we get in, actually two more little things before we get into it. Right quick, I think I would love to hear, certainly some of you people out there perform in ensembles that do Baroque, classical, or Romantic period pieces, be they vocal or be they instrumental. And I like the idea of maybe being able to use some of those as examples in some up-and-coming history episodes. Don't you think?
Oh, yeah, so do I. Yeah, let's do that.
Let's do that. It's win-win because we don't have to worry about copyright, and we also get to showcase some of our fantastic listeners.
Absolutely. Yeah, that sounds like a great idea.
So if you are a part of this, we are going to be doing more history episodes, and that's where we're taking it from. We already did Middle Ages, and next up is Baroque, and then Classical and Romantic. So respectively, in order of importance, that's what we're looking for.
Yeah.
Because I don't have access to that kind of stuff. You know? Okay, so also another good news. We talked a little bit last episode about T-shirts. And I'm happy to say we have T-shirts now.
The T-shirts exist.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If you want to have a look at one in action, you can get on our Facebook page, which is just Music Student 101 on Facebook. Or you can go to our Music Student 101 Facebook group with an exclamation point. And that's where you also see a link to where you can buy the shirts, and also a little cool video me and my friend Brian Malloy did with the T-shirts, involving the T-shirts. A joyful video.
It's really fun. I really enjoyed it a lot.
And it's not just T-shirts. It's kind of cool. You send them a design that you're really happy about, and then they can put it on pins and stickers and drinkware if you want it, obviously. We said shower curtains last time, I think. But yeah, just everything. It's kind of a cool little thing.
Toilet seat covers, I mean, it's just... And
you don't have to wait on my... procrastinating self to email to mail you the thing. I'll just it happens automatically. You just order it from the site and they send it to you. So
that's good.
Some people yeah. Some people ask how they can support us in other ways, and that's one great way to support us. Just grab a T-shirt and be a walking billboard for Music Student 101. Okay, now so I guess we need to go ahead and get into this episode, don't we?
I guess we probably do. I'm trying to procrastinate even more than normal.
Putting off the mat torture. I'm going to be playing piano in some of these for this episode, but what I decided to do was pre-record these for you, Matt, and I'll tell you why. Because when you're doing this for me, you're sitting there playing the piano. I mean, you know where you're going and how to get there pretty quickly, and also hitting. It's not just that; it's also being able to hit all the keys evenly. And I was like, I'm not sure if I can do that live. So what I did was I pre-recorded these examples when we get into it. And I actually went back and took the MIDIs, I highlighted all the little MIDI events and made sure that they are all equal velocity, right?
Mm-hmm.
So now you should be able to hear, and the listener should be able to hear bass, all the parts, all the voices with equal volume.
Right.
That'll probably help out a little bit.
Let's hope so.
And then...
I need all the help I can get.
Yeah. Okay, so let's see here. And again, we're talking about secondary 7 chords.
Right. Meaning 7 chords that tonicize some note other than tonic, some diatonic note other than tonic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And not to be confused with the 7th chord with the TH, right?
Right, yeah. Not that necessarily.
If I have a C major chord and I add a 7th to it, I got myself scale degree 1, 3, 5, and I add a 7th to it. That is a 7th chord.
Correct.
But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the secondary 7 chord.
It is the same as a secondary dominant, 5 of 2, 5 of 6, whatever, except instead of being a 5 of whatever, it is a 7 of whatever. So it is a diminished chord that is whose root, or one of its chord tones at least, is a half step below a diatonic chord, and it tonicizes briefly that chord in its resolution to that chord.
And I should say that this is kind of a second part to the secondary 7 chord, because the harmonic progressions episode, part 7 that we did before this one, or the last ear training episode we did.
Right, yeah. So if you're still not super clear on what a secondary 7 chord is, go back and listen to that episode where we explain from the theory end what's going on.
Because we did the 7 of 2 and the 7 of 5 on that one. Today we're doing the 7 of 3 and the 7 of 6.
All right.
So, do you have any theory knowledge to impart before you listen to some of these examples and then get into your exercises?
Theory knowledge to impart. Well, that's pretty good. These chords can be in any inversion. They can be they're always diminished usually. They're always diminished. They can be a simple diminished triad, or if they're a 4-note diminished chord, they can be half diminished. If they are fully diminished, they have the possibility of resolving to any note that is a half step above any of the 4 notes of the chord. So that becomes a very useful to transition into a way far away key, a way out of the blue key. Generally, when you're doing ear training, what you're wanting to do is you're going to hear that something is weird. This is going to be a non-diatonic diminished chord. The question will always kind of be, where is it going, right? So it's going to be really important to be able to hone in on that diatonic chord that comes in after it. And I guess we're about to see how good I am at that.
Yeah. But I guess kind of what you're saying. So let's just put ourselves in let's do G. What the heck? I'm gonna step out on the ledge and add a sharp here. We like to establish ourselves in the right key. And so 1, 4, 5, 1. And sometimes we like to do 1, 2, 5, 1. And then let's talk about 3 a little bit. So I tend to like these mediant chords.
Yeah.
But if we just want to go, what would be a good way to go to 3? Like 1, 4 to 3, or what makes sense to you?
Well, 1 straight to 3 is a neo-Riemannian transformation. Okay,
so if we're doing, this is like the E. So this is a G and B minor, back and forth. G being 1, B minor being 3. Okay. So I guess if I wanted to do something fancy, to put something in between those two, right? I would want to say, okay, so I'm in G. 1, G, A, B is the 3. And I want to do a secondary 7 chord of this B minor chord. So what do we do?
The diminished chord that is a half step below B. So you're going to be looking at an A sharp diminished chord.
A sharp diminished chord. Okay, so I take this A sharp, I add a minor third.
C sharp.
Yep, C sharp. I add another minor third.
E.
Okay, so A, C sharp, and E. I'm sorry, A sharp, C sharp, and E.
A sharp, C sharp, E, yeah.
And so after I play that, I play my B minor. Woohoo!
Yeah, it flowed into that pretty well, huh?
That felt good, didn't it?
Yeah, and imagine being in G major and going 1, 4 in root position.
So
G, C. and then morphing that C into A sharp diminished.
Oh.
And now B minor.
Whoa.
There you go.
Freaky.
Yeah. So what you did in the bass now was have chromatic changing tones around the third, around B, right? C, A sharp, and B all being half steps away from each other.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Pretty neat, huh?
Yeah. And also, why do you say A sharp instead of B flat?
Because B is a diatonic note.
Mm-hmm.
You could say B flat, but then you would be saying B flat diminished to B natural minor. And in my thinking, it is both easier to say and easier to think of that as A sharp. So A sharp diminished moving to B. That A sharp to B sort of denotes motion in a way that B flat to B natural doesn't necessarily denote notion.
Yeah, when you're moving up and down a scale or a melody, you don't want to have two of the same letter names in a row. Is that kind of also the idea?
That's good practice, typically. I mean, there's sometimes that's unavoidable in certain musics, and it's not a hard and fast rule, but typically, typically A sharp to B kind of makes melodic sense, right? And makes sense in terms of motion more so than B flat becoming B natural does.
Yeah.
It's a quirky little thing, but
so
theory can be quirky.
Yes, it can. So that's kind of an example in major, and in that case, we're going 1 to the 7 of 3, and then to 3 eventually, right?
Mm-hmm.
However we did it. So 1, and then 7 of 3, and then 3, and then maybe you could have gone to
6, 2, 5, 1.
Oh, that would have been a good one. Yeah. Let me try that again. So 1, 7 of 3, 3, and then you said 6, 2, 5, 1. Huh?
Nice.
Craziness.
Very nice. Yeah.
Okay. So there is the 3. That was kind of an idea of, I mean, it doesn't really sound much different however you do it. 7 of 3 is a 7 of 3. So we can, I guess, move on to the 7 of 6 now, huh?
7 of 6. Same principle. It is a diminished chord that is a half step below the 6th scale degree and resolves up to the 6th chord.
Mm-hmm. So let's see here. Let's do D major.
All right.
D major. And so what do we do? We say we're looking for that 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We got a B.
Mm-hmm.
So we know that we want to get to that B minor. Oh man, we're still going to the B minor again. Crap.
Isn't that funny? Yeah.
You see what I did? Let's do A major. Unbelievable. I don't want B minor confusion. We don't need that.
Yeah, because it's a minor. It's a third away from G, a third up from G, and a third down from D. So if you went from G to D, then you're just approaching the third from the other side.
Yeah, I was like, I'm gonna try and really push myself and add one more sharp, and that's how I screwed myself. Because we're talking about, oh man,
now we're up to 3 sharps, so you're in real trouble.
If you guys can wrap your mind around the weird little thing that just happened, get back with us. It's very interesting, but it's hard to describe. I'm sorry. It's okay. So we got A major.
Yep.
Or better yet, we'll do. Okay, so what do we do now? We're gonna try and find that 6. At this point, a lot of you guys know how to do this, but yep. A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp. That's the 6th note of the scale.
That's the 6th.
And we know that diatonically speaking, if we're in the key of A major, that 6 is usually going to be minor.
Yep.
Right? So that's the F sharp minor in key of A major. So what we need to do is take this F sharp, find the note that has the leading tone to it.
Yep. And it's going to be E sharp per our recent discussion of motion and all that.
Ah, that's right. And that's the answer to the same question I would ask you, the same answer, right? I mean, we're going from E sharp to F sharp instead of from F to F sharp.
Instead of F natural to F sharp, right, yeah.
we all know this little white key is an E when we look at it on the piano, but we're changing the name of it because we have to, or because we should. To keep things organized in our heads, right?
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. To keep things organized in your head.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so anyways, let's hear how this is going to sound. We got an A major. Is there one?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? 1-6-2-5? Should I just do a simple 1-6-2-5 and throw a thing in there before that?
Yeah.
Or do you want to try and give me something? Try and challenge me. See if I can.
Let's see. How about?
There'll be Jeremy torture one way or the other.
How about 1, 5, 7 of 6 to 6?
Okay. So we got 1, 5, and 7 of 6 to 6, huh? So that'll be an F diminished. Ooh. Okay, I'm gonna try that again. So we got 1, 5 to 7 of 6 to 6.
That was pretty cool.
That's very strange. Very interesting.
Yeah, so we have that chromatic ascension from E to E sharp / F to F sharp, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So did you chromatic steps up the.
Did you know how that was going to sound in your head? When you said that, or were you just pulling chords out of nowhere for me?
I was trying to get a chromatic line in the bass.
Did I do that though? I don't think I did.
I think you did.
Did I? Okay. Let me try it again. Say it again. So
1.
Because if I do a chromatic line, it's going to have to be going from A to
E to E sharp diminished.
Okay, that's the part of the
That's the chromatic line. And then to F sharp diminished.
I see what you're saying. Okay,
so E, F sharp, yeah.
I see what you're saying. So that's kind of cool, huh?
Yeah. From which you can probably go 2, 5, 1, or 5 of 5 to 5 to 1, or something fun like that, if you want to.
So there's 2 examples in major keys. First we did a 5 of 3, and then we did a 5 of 6. So let's go ahead and move on to a minor key, shall we?
Mm-hmm.
Man, I'm just going to do A minor. Good old A minor.
Jeremy is tired of key signatures.
I know. What was I doing? What was I thinking to myself? Okay, so we got 1, 4, 5, 1.
Yep.
Okay, so we are in A minor, and we want to try and do a 3. This is where it gets a little bit interesting to me, because I had questions for you when I was calling you about this episode, and then I realized that was the same question that I asked you in the previous episode, but I'm going to ask you again because I think it's interesting.
Okay.
Even though we've already talked about it. Okay, so in A minor, now we have 1, or any minor key for that matter.
Mm-hmm.
We have 1, 2, 3, moving up the minor scale. In this case, A, B, and C. Now, this B note right here is the leading tone to C.
Mm-hmm.
So if we wanted to go to the 3 of A minor, if we wanted to go to the C, and we want to use a secondary 7 chord to get there, we would then use a B diminished chord to get there. So if we go 1, 2, 3. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
But what did I say? I said 1, 2, 3 instead of 1,
7 of
3, 3.
Yep.
Same chords. Why do I call 1? Why would I say that this is even a 7 of 3 at all if we already know it is a diminished 2 chord in the minor key?
Function is very often a question of where it goes, right? It is if it goes to 5, then it is a 2 chord, because that is a 2 chord of predominant function. Yeah, it is an interesting question, and it is interesting to bring it up, because we think of 2 as going to 5, and indeed 2 can go to 5. But as you just demonstrated, 2 can also go to 3, right? This can be a part of a tonic prolongation, which is just to say that function is a question of where it goes, right? When we get into 7/7s, fully diminished 7 chords, is it a 7/7 of 6 or is it a 7/7 of 4? Well, it depends on which one it resolved to, right? In this case, is it 2 or is it 7 of 3? Depends on where it resolved, right? The legacy of the major scale 2-5-1 is so strong that tends to be something our ears hear, even if we would otherwise think, well, this diminished chord ought to resolve to 3. And keep in mind that in these cases, you're talking about all root position chords, which is probably bad, right? If this were 2/6 to 5-1, then it would sound more like a conventional circle of fifths progression, right?
So that would actually be 2/6. So if I did A minor and then this guy using the third in the bass, it would be.
It's actually the fourth in the bass, but yeah. Oh, I see what you say. The third of the chord. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Yeah. So I'm sorry. So all that. I guess that the point being that it does depend on where it goes.
Function is a question of where it's going. Yeah.
Because I could demonstrate by saying we're in A minor. We could just go to 1, 2, 5, 1. But that 2 chord, 1, 2, we have a B in there.
Yeah.
We have a D in there. We have an F in there. I guess the point being, any of these notes in B diminished, in this case, the 2 diminished chord of A minor.
Yeah.
It could go to 3 different places. It can go to this, to the 3. It can go to this, like you said, the F sharp minor, or it can go to the E flat.
Yeah.
So why we would call it a 7 of 3 is because in this case we actually go to 3.
Resolving the 7 of 3. Yeah. And this is definitely a challenging concept. And believe me, I understand that. It is challenging for everybody, but it's very much a crucial point in your understanding of theory, or at least a function, when you realize that you're not just slapping a label on something, right? You're not just saying, well, this chord has scale degree 2, 4, and 6 in it, therefore I dubbed thee a 2 chord. It is a little more complicated than that. It is, as a 2 chord is much for how it's acting, where it's going, and what it's doing, as it is for the actual notes in it. This is the challenge around the concept of a cadential 6/4, right? It has all the notes. It has all the notes of a tonic chord. It has scale degree 5, scale degree 1, and scale degree 3. So you say, well, why is this not a 1 chord? Well, it doesn't function as a 1 chord. It does not function as a goal of the previous chord progression at which we can now rest, right? It's resolving into a 5 chord. Those suspensions are resolving and becoming a 5 chord. So it's a 5 chord. It's functioning like a 5.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a highfalutin concept, and believe me, a lot of people struggle with this. I struggled with this, but yeah, function is a question of where it goes, and sometimes the reason we call certain things what we call them is not so much for the purpose of just slapping a label on it. We could call it chicken for or something for that matter. Bear claw, remember that Friends episode? Was it?
Oh gosh.
But yeah, we could, but it's a question of also of where it's going, what it's doing, how it's acting, and how it's functioning in the role of the chord progression. So
absolutely.
Yeah. Can you tell I'm putting off the Matt torture at this point?
Yes, that's okay. Because most times when we get into diminished chords, we kind of start talking about this concept, and it's just something that I think bears repeating in order to be able to be absorbed, as it did for me, anyways.
Absolutely.
And before we get into the Matt torture, you got one more little thing we can bide the time with here, Matt, and that will be the 7 of 6 in minor.
Okay.
Right on. So let's see here. Let's just do D minor. There you are.
Okay.
D minor, 4, 5, 1. It sounds more complete when we do that, but really in D minor, diatonically speaking, 4, the 5 would be minor. Like that. 1. But we're talking about 6 here. So when I'm in minor, what's a cool way to get to 6? Oh, you remember the Andalusian cadence?
Yeah.
What if we try that?
Okay.
So what we'll have to do is the 6 is this B flat in D minor, right?
Mm-hmm.
So again, to find the note, we drop down just a half step from where we were.
Yeah.
The root of whatever chord we want to get to, which in this case, half step down from B flat is A, regular A, good old A natural. And then we build a diminished chord. And then we can get to this, back to this thing. So, to make this work, we would have, and talk about parallel fifths. Get ready, bud. D minor. So we got 1, 7, and then 7 of 6. And then 6. No, I feel like I gotta go somewhere after that.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Where do you want to
go? From 6?
Yeah. 2, 5, 1.
Yeah.
There we are.
Yeah, there you go.
But anyway, that's kind of sound we're looking for. So again, 1, 7, 7 of 6. 6. Very strange.
Yeah.
And then
that's a strange one.
Because in line with what we were talking about, if we're, whatever key we're in, the 7 of 6 in this case, A diminished 7, or just A diminished. So it could have been the 7 of 6, and it could have been the 7 of 2. So
easily.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing stuff.
Yeah. We're going to have to talk about common tone diminished 7 chords in a theory episode at some point, coming up very soon.
Indeed. Okay, so we're getting pretty close to where we're going to get into this little listening portion, our little listening exam for this episode.
Oh, fun.
And I do have one more thing for you, though, Matt. One more quick question, okay?
Uh-huh.
When it comes to the secondary 7 chord leading to whatever chord comes next,
right.
In the case of okay, what is the question? So I'm wondering what kind of a effect it's going to have if we stick the secondary 7th chord in between 2 chords that really were meant to go really close, like to get consecutively. I guess what I'm rambling through here is, let's look at the deceptive cadence where we have 1, 4, 5, and then instead of going back to 1, we go 1, 4, 5, 6, right? So the 5 has these leading these tendency tones that want to go to 1 or 6,
right.
or that feel good going to 1 or 6. So if we throw a 7 of 6 chord in between that 5 chord and that 6 chord, that
is a thing that happens.
That is a thing that happens. Okay.
So pick a key, any key.
Oh,
preferably any major key.
Good old C major. Let's do C major like I was doing a second ago.
Okay. So in C major, A5 is G, B, D, possibly F, right? And then a 7 of 6 is going to be the G sharp diminished chord. So G sharp, B, D. So really, so far, only one of those notes has changed.
Interesting.
And if you leave the F in there, you're going to have a 7 fully diminished 7 of 6, which is also okay. So what you really only done is create a passing tone, a chromatic passing tone in presumably the bass voice, right? Where you have gone from G to G sharp before you move up to A. So all of those all those upper voices, the F resolving down to the E, and the B resolving up to the C, they're still going to happen, right?
Okay, well that's That's very interesting. Let me actually try and play this so we can listen to it. So in this case, we're going to have a key of C major. We're going to have a 1, a 4, and then we've got this 5, and we did a 5-7, and then the only difference is that one note right there. And then there's our 6th chord.
Remember that harmony is actually counterpoint, right?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. I hope that was good enough counterpoint from my voice leading. But let me try and play that without yapping one more time so we can listen to it. So we got 1, 4, 5, 7, 7 of 6, and then 6. All right, great. So thanks again. And if you're ready, I am ready, Matt, for this.
Let's go. Let's get on it.
Matthew Torture.
I'm ready. So
our listeners, I hope, they had their little staff paper handy and a pencil. This is going to be on the grand staff.
Okay. Do I get a key?
You will get a key, and you will get. Isn't it? Don't we do a key and a starting note? Don't we?
Usually, I think we do a key and a bass and soprano starting note.
But I play them, and you have to kind of guess them, don't you? You
have to sing, you have to sing up or down. Not really, but I can try to guess them.
All right, cool.
I'm already arguing with the professor, aren't I? Just a problem student here.
Those are usually There's a passion sometimes in the problem students. Okay, so first example, and like I say, we'll listen. What do? We listen about 4 times.
Mm-hmm.
The first time through, you're going to be listening mainly for the bass line, right? To kind of.
I like to start with the bass line. Yeah.
To kind of get our foundation. And
yeah, you can also start with the soprano line if it's easier, and
Yeah. And then if you don't, then that would be what you do the second time around. You would try to listen to the melody and try and put that where it belongs.
Right.
And then by the time you're done with that listen, you have at least 2 notes of every chord.
Mm-hmm.
So then you turn on your theory brain and try and listen for the harmonies that are occurring with these chords. Are they major? Are they minor? Are they diminished? What are they like? How do they feel? And so forth. And then I think we try and use our 4th listen all around just kind of as the confirmation listen.
Right. Hopefully you've gotten all of that stuff, and the 4th listen is sort of the confirmation listen.
Mm-hmm. To where you're crossing your...
Yeah, hopefully you're not still dictating by the 4th listen, but sometimes you are. It depends on how hard the exercise is.
Mm-hmm.
So,
okay.
Are we ready to do this?
I think we're ready. So here is our first listen. We're going to be in the key of G major. So let's get us in G major. There we are. 1, 2, 5. Okay?
Okay.
So you're finding your notes, your solfeggios. Our opening chord kind of spread out.
So that's a G in the bass and a B in the soprano?
Yeah. Oh, you're gonna do good, Matt.
We'll see.
Okay. So there we go. So and you knew that was the I could tell you did a little
yeah.
Singing down to 1. Good, cool. Okay. And now, Matt, you have the example. All you need to do is play it.
All right. So I'm pressing play here. Okay, so I was listening for the bass line in that play primarily, and feels like it got pretty weird pretty fast. So I heard do to fa to begin.
To 4, yeah.
Yeah. So to 4, and so 1 to 4, and in the bass line, and that 1 to 4, I was expecting it to go to at least sol. But it really didn't sound like it did. I'm guessing that third chord may be our weird one. And I'm going to say I'm a little unsure of that right now, but I feel like that chord is pretty weird. I feel like coming out of that chord, we were at a 6, because I heard a definite minor quality. This is me going beyond just listening to the bass line, right? But
That's okay. That's okay, man.
So maybe what I'm hearing is F sharp to E, is this sharp 5 up to that 6 in those second and third chords in the bass line. But I'm not positive about that yet. I am pretty positive that it ended with 2-5-1. Is that well? Okay, I'm not going to ask you if that's right, but I am pretty positive that it ended with 2-5-1.
I wasn't saying yes. I was saying continue.
Okay. Yes, I'm pretty positive it ends with 2-5-1. So that's my first listen. Still some troubling uncertainty. There's just a couple of chords in there that I think are weird, but yeah, okay.
Okay, so I think what you were saying you heard was a 1, a 4, and then the kind of question chord.
Yeah.
And then after that came a 6. Yeah. And then you said a 2, a 5, and a 1. Ending.
Yeah.
Okay.
Although that it may have been, that 2 and a 5 may have been an octave above what you just played, but it definitely sounded like 2-5-1.
Are you ready for your second listen?
Yes, I am ready for my second listen.
And of course, our listeners, all they have to do is just rewind it if they want to.
Absolutely. We could even put these audio files on the website or something. But in my second listen, okay, I'm going to concentrate on my melody. Maybe my melody will help me with that weird thing that I was kind of unsure of, too. We'll see. So, focused on the melody now. Okay. So, would that be?
That should be.
Okay. So with that second listen. Okay, so I'm hearing scale degree 3, scale degree 3, scale degree 2, scale degree 3. And then those last couple of chords are definite. It feels like scale degree 4, scale degree 4, scale degree 3. Which those would conform to 2-5-1 imperfect authentic cadence, right?
Yes.
To end. So that conforms with what I thought was the bass line. So I'm feeling pretty good about the end at this point. Feeling fairly good about the beginning at this point. And if I'm right about scale degree 2, moving down to scale degree 1 in that third and fourth chord. So that was my sort of weird area, right? At this point, I'm going to engage my theory brain a little bit, because I know scale degree 1 falls into a 6 chord, which I thought what that fourth measure might be. That fourth chord might be a 6.
You did say that.
And, if that is approached, re do, scale degree 2 down to 1, I'm going to sort of use my theory brain a little bit and hypothesize that that's a 7 of 6 going to 6.
All right.
It could still be a 5 of 6 going to 6 technically, but I happen to know what the title of this episode is. But so I'm going to hypothesize 7 of 6 going to 6, because that re do, that 2 down to 1, is approaching that 6 chord, right? Which means that somewhere in that chord there would be, what would be the note we needed? F sharp. Yeah. Right? Because we're in G. No. D sharp. It would need to be D sharp.
Yes.
It would have to be the sharp 5 moving into E, into that E minor chord that would be the 6. So that's what I'm thinking right now.
I like where you're going.
So, that means with my third listen now, I'm listening for these harmonies to make sure that the quality of these chords line up with my sort of theories that I've gotten from listening and engaging my theory brain a little bit, right?
And sure, and it does take a set of ears because distinguishing the 7 of a chord and the 5/7 of a chord, there's only one note difference, right?
Yeah, there's only one note that's not there.
Yeah.
So that does definitely take some ears. Ready for my third listen if you are.
Yes, sir.
And I will hear this again, and I'm really, really hoping that third chord sounds at least a little bit diminished.
I hope so too.
It sounded maybe 570, a little diminished. Again, I know what the name of this episode is, so I'm going to call that third chord a 7 of 6.
Okay.
So now I'm in confirmation mode, right? I know the first chord is 1. That's the easy part, right?
I think we tend to do that a lot in these listens.
Yeah, you absolutely do. It's not for definite, but it is pretty common.
It's the humane thing to do.
Root position 1 with B in the soprano, scale degree 3, the third of the chord.
Right.
And then we said up to scale degree 4 in the bass. And scale degree 3 still in the soprano. That's a little strange.
Isn't it?
But I'm going to say they'd 4/7. That's what it'd have to be. That's messed up.
It sounds kind of like that, doesn't it?
Yeah, it almost makes me wonder if that was maybe like a 2/6/5 or something, with that 7 there, because that's just strange. But it wouldn't be a 2/6/5 either, would it? I don't know. That's a little bit of a weird chord. But that's what my ears told me, so that's what I'm going with.
All right.
And then D sharp in the bass, A in the soprano.
So D sharp in the bass, A in the soprano.
So 7 of 6. Moving to E in the bass, G in the soprano. That is an E minor chord. That is 6.
Yep, close. That's you got the note, but not the right voice.
Right. Oh yeah. I keep thinking that. E in the bass, B in the soprano.
Yep,
E minor chord. Yeah. And from there it's pretty easy. So if we go to a root position 2 with the third, scale degree 4. To root position 5/7 with the soprano, still scale degree 4. And then we end back on 1 with scale degree 3 in the soprano. So fourth listen, right? So I'm going to confirm all of this stuff, right?
Okay.
I'm still technically, I mean, that chord sounded 7-ish more than it did diminished-ish to me, but it could still be diminished. So I'm going to confirm. Yeah, all right. So, for definite, that my confirmation did solidify a lot of things in my brain. First of all, that second chord is 4/7. I don't care what you say, that chord is 4/7.
I can't argue with that. So we got a 1 chord?
I'm going to go with 7 of 6 for the third chord. I feel pretty good about that. I'm going to go with 6 for the fourth, and then 2, 5/7, 1.
Let's double check on this real quick. Yes, I didn't label that a 5/7, but it is a 5/7. Dude, you nailed it. So we got a 1. Yes, in fact, a major 4/7 chord.
It's a weird chord, man. What are you doing to me?
Isn't it though? It's so sweet. But you don't hear that a lot. You don't hear that a lot in classical music, do you?
You really don't. You really, really don't.
Okay, and then, like you said, we got the 7 of 6. And then we got the 6. And then you got the 2, and the 5, and the 1. 5/7 and a 1.
All right. Ooh, how was stressful.
You did great, Matt. You didn't sound stressed.
You really freaked me out with that 4/7 chord, though.
It's just gonna get weirder though. I think that was my favorite one of all of them. And it's just gonna get weirder, so buckle up.
It's just gonna get weirder. I can't wait.
Okay, you ready to move on to exercise 2?
Yes, let's move on to exercise 2.
I decided to push myself with some more sharps. We're in the key of E major. You wanted to hear. Here we are.
And do I get a starting note?
Yes, so the first chord we are going to do our little root in the bass, and then here's the full chord.
So there's the scale degree 5 in the soprano this time.
Yep.
Okay.
Nice.
All right.
So we got the
And
root
scale
and the
degree 1
5.
in the bass.
Yes, sir.
So this time I'm just listening for the bass line. Listen 1, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So here we go. Okay, so that bass line was just a progression up to scale degree 5 and then a jump back down to 1, right? There was one little chromatic weirdness.
Mm-hmm.
And it happened in the third chord again. You know, that third chord was weird. But this time that weirdness was, I want to say that bass line went E, F sharp, F double sharp, G, sharp,
well,
G sharp.
Yeah, okay.
G sharp to A, and then B, and then back down to E. So 5-1 was those last two chords again.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it felt that way. I don't want to say.
And you know, the first time I was a little uncertain about that. I'm pretty sure that's what happened. Yeah. So with that one little chromatic step, otherwise it was just a step up to 5. So I feel pretty good about that.
Great.
So
Okay.
Going to try the melody now, and we're starting on scale degree 5, B, right?
Yep.
Okay. So let's try this. Okay, that didn't sound like it moved around a whole heck of a lot. It sounded like it was hanging out around 5. I want to say it went scale degree 5, started on B, C sharp, hit C sharp again, and went back down to B, and then did it go down to A? And then 2 more B's. B, B. And, you know, while I'm doing this, I'm also I've got my theory brain engaged a little bit, right? Because those last two B's, B is going to be the B that's in the 5, and then the B that's in the 1, right? Scale degree 5. So
Yeah.
I feel pretty good about my bass line at this point. I feel like it's going E, F sharp, F double sharp, G sharp, and then A, B, E.
Yep. Okay.
And then I feel pretty good about my soprano. I feel like it's going B, C sharp, B, A, B, B.
Okay.
So now I'm really having to engage my theory brain. So E to B is a 1 chord. F sharp, C sharp. For one thing, it's parallel fifths. For a second thing, that could be a 2. That could be a, right? Yeah, that could be a 2. In fact, that's probably what would create those parallel fifths if you were trying to make a 2 chord. So that could make a 2. And then we've got weirdness. And then we have to come out of the weirdness. So, not entirely sure about that weirdness yet. I don't feel like we're going to 6 because that we could be, but that would be a 6 in second inversion. I think that would be weirder than what it sounded like. So there's still some serious weirdness there. And plus 6 wouldn't have, would it have? Only 6, 7 would have that B in it. That would be really, really, really weird. Now,
process of elimination.
You've already thrown one weird 7 chord at me, so I'm not discounting that as a possibility, but I don't think I heard anything that strange there. And then either 4-5-1 or 2-5-1. Or either 4-5-1 or 2-6-5-1 or 2-6-5-1, something like that. So let me get my third listen, and concentrating on the chord qualities, be they major, minor, or diminished, is going to really help me with that. Really help me sort of with some of these question marks I still have. Hopefully, we'll see.
The advanced listener can kind of pick out the middle notes, I'm sure, the middle tones, I'm sure, but even the not as advanced listener can kind of listen for the feel,
Yeah. I'll tell you, I'm not good at that. Picking out alto and tenor voices, I'm not particularly good at that. I'm relying a lot on soprano and bass, and then filling in with my theory knowledge. You may have gotten that as sort of my process, but your process can definitely be different. Yeah.
I usually just listen for sweetness and crunchiness.
Me too. Sweetness and crunchiness. So let's listen for some sweetness and some crunchiness. That's a 2 chord. So, 1, and then I feel like that second chord was definitely minor. I think that's a 2 chord.
All right.
I feel like the third chord was definitely some crunchy stuff. I want to say that's a diminished chord, so it's probably going somewhere. That fourth chord was scaring me a little bit, but that is a root position minor triad if I've ever heard one in my life.
All right.
So that's just got to be 3. That's just got to be 3.
Yeah.
So that makes the chord preceding it 7 of 3.
All right. I like where you're going.
And then the end is pretty clear now. I want to say that chord after the 3 was 4. So, because I felt like it was of major quality. So I want to say that was 4-5-1. If it had been 2-6-5-1, that chord would have been a minor quality, right? If it was this first inversion too. So I want to say that last one is 4-5-1.
So after this third listen, you have very much engaged your theory brain.
A lot.
And it sounds like you've pretty come close to an answer.
I think I have. So let's do it. Let's do a confirming listen.
Okay. And then while we listen this time, maybe we'll talk about the quality of each chord, like you were just saying. You know what I mean?
Okay. Sure. So major 1.
Scalar major.
That's a minor chord.
Uh-huh.
Crunchy.
Crunch, crunch.
Minor chord again.
Uh-huh.
Major.
Uh-huh.
Major. Major.
Okay. All right.
So do. So yeah. I feel like I have an answer.
Okay.
I feel like this is 1,
Uh-huh.
2,
Uh-huh.
7 of 3.
With this strange little G.
Yeah. With
sharp.
the F double sharp. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
To 3.
Which is that G sharp in the key of E. G sharp minor.
Yep. 4.
Uh-huh.
5. 1.
Yeah. That's it, man.
Yeah.
You nailed it.
Okay. Ooh.
And I really
there's a lot of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's a messed up progression.
Hey, yeah, all that is just a straight walk up the major scale, right?
Mm-hmm.
With that little funny thing in the middle of it.
Yeah,
That little,
dude. Next time use a passing 6/4 instead of a 2 chord. I mean, come on.
Hey,
work with me here.
who's the instructor now? I'm the Fuchs. You are the grasshopper.
All right.
But, hey, actually, while I was doing this, I was trying to avoid parallel fifths and all those little kind of voice leading considerations.
Yeah, well, you totally slammed into some parallel fifths between the 1 and the 2 chord. This is why we don't just walk straight up 1 to 2, and they're between the 2 outer voices too. I mean, you're in the ninth circle of theory hell for that one. So you went F sharp.
Yes. So in relation to the bass line, the soprano is moving in parallel.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, actually, I guess technically that might be direct fifths because F sharp and no, because it's an E. So we started on E. We went E to B, which is a fifth part, and then went F sharp to C sharp, right? In the outer voices.
Those are parallel fifths.
Like I said,
You heard it.
5, 6, 4 next time.
So you're saying that it almost sounds like you're suggesting that we came up with these inversions to avoid some of these parallelisms.
One would almost think, yeah. What are our two major functions for inversions is to make part writing easier and to write cool bass lines.
And to write cool bass lines. Yeah. Well, I knew the second one.
Yeah. Everybody remembers that one. All right.
Imagine that.
So we've got a couple more here. And if I know Jeremy, these second two are going to be in minor.
It is time to go into a different little neighborhood. I wanted to start off with something I really knew. So I did A minor.
Good old A minor. So I assume we have A in the bass.
Good assumption.
And what is our full chord?
So our opening chord is this right here. This chord right here. One chord.
So do so. So we're starting with the fifth of the chord again.
Yep, and the soprano.
Okay. Yep. And then like the tonic and the bass.
Yep.
All right. So that's about all the preliminary information I'm going to get. So here comes exercise 3. Okay, wow, that was weird.
Are you even writing these down, or are you just listening, memorizing all these things?
I'm trying to remember. Yeah,
that's amazing. That's just amazing.
no,
don't do that at home, kids.
It really isn't. I wish I was doing a better job at it. Let's see. Okay, so I want to say that we're in A now. A. We're in A. Scale degree 3, so C. And then B to C, so do, me, re, me.
Mm-hmm.
And then those last 3 chords went 2, 5, 1 again. So B, E, A, right there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So. All right, so maybe not as weird as I initially thought. So A, C, B, C, B, E, A.
Mm-hmm. And that was, as far as numbers, that was 1, 3, 2, 3, 2, 5, 1.
There you go.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. That's our bass line, huh?
And right. So and that it was that second C that I thought that is definitely a major 3 chord. I mean that just hit me over the head. That's probably a 3 chord. I don't know that yet. We're not there yet, right? But my strong suspicion is that it goes 1 something something, and then that 1 2 3, that 4th chord is a major 3 chord, is a C major chord.
Mm-hmm.
Because that just sounded like the relative major to me, biggest A. I'm not sure about that yet. We'll see what happens, right? Okay. So
you feel like you got the bass line. You're feeling pretty good about that bass line, but now you're also kind of swimming around a bit of the chord qualities as we go here.
Right, yeah, because I mean, your brain doesn't really just shut off everything, right? So I mean, you're going to have. You're going to notice the quality of the chords, and you're going to notice a little bit what the soprano is doing and things like that. It's just where you're concentrating, listen to listen. So let's try again, and this time I'm going to try that soprano line. Which where did it start again?
We determined that was going to start on the 5.
5, right? All right, on the 5. Now that you said something about my amazing memory, it's failing me. So
yeah.
Here we go.
A lot of notes.
Okay. So, so do so lay, and then I don't know where. But so I want to say it went from E to F to F, and this one really messed with me. This note really messed with me.
This next note?
Yeah. I feel like that was a major 3 chord. So that limits I still feel that way. So that limits my choices to C, E, and G. I really don't feel like it went back to E. I wanted it to go back to E, but I really just felt like it didn't. And so I'm going to guess G, but it's either G or C. This is probably a point I'd get counted off on an exercise. But right now it's going to be either G or C, and I'm going to have to be okay with that.
Hey, we've only had our second listen.
Yeah. And then those last 3 chords went back down to F, and then G sharp A. That was approaching our cadence.
Yeah, G sharp. Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty good with cadences.
Yeah.
All right. So really unsure about that note, but yeah, at least I'm comfortable with the chord. So that's helping me right now. Thank goodness I feel pretty strongly about that chord, or else I just wouldn't know what was going on in that measure.
Yeah. Well, that was one of the first things you counted. I noticed you said that second time that C pops up in the bass. You did mention that sounded like a definite major.
It sounded like the relative major for
yeah.
everything in its life, and with my second listen, I still felt pretty confident with that. So that's helping me with that last note. But we'll see what happens.
So this third listen, we're going to kind of confirm the qualities that we're talking about here, maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
Or the theory brain.
This is a tough one for sure, but we'll see what happens. So, third listen. Okay. One, the first chord is a minor one, obviously. That second chord is some kind of major chord. I don't even know what, but just knowing that it was a major chord makes me think it's either got to be 4 or it's not 1, and that's minor anyway. So just thinking it's a major, and it's not 5 because it's not leading back to 1. So that makes me think it's got to be either 4 or 6. And so with a C in the bass and an F in this and an F in the soprano, I'm going to go out on a limb and guess a second inversion 4 chord.
All right.
No. Wait. That would be a root position 4 chord. That's not working. Second inversion F is 6. A second inversion 6 chord. Which is strange as crap. But but there you go. And then with it going back down to B in the bass and staying on F, that is B and F. That sounds like 2. Which, given our previous conversation, might very well be 7-3, especially since that next chord is a 3 chord for all it's worth. I still don't know what that soprano note is, but that is a 3 chord for all we're sitting there. And then beyond that, I'm thinking it is definitely either 2-5-1 or 4-5-1, and in this case, I'm thinking that's probably 2-5-1.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Sounds like you got it penciled in.
I've got some things penciled in. I'm feeling penciled in. There's definitely some things I still have questions about.
And folks, use your pencils.
Please, people, use your pencils. Use your pencils. For this you see this. I've got a lot of experience with this stuff, and you see how uncertain I am about areas of this. Even so definitely use pencils. Okay. So this is what, the fourth listen?
Fourth listen.
Fourth listen, and so on the fourth listen, I'm going to. I would like to be just confirming what I already know. Obviously, I still have uncertainties going into the fourth listen, which is not ideal, but
not uncommon.
But not uncommon. It is what it is. I'm going to try to shore up some of my questions about that second chord for sure. About that, I feel like the third and fourth chord is 7-3 going to 3. And then whether that last chord is 2-5-1 or 4-5-1. Those are my big things. So let's see.
Okay, so again we've got starting off with the
yeah.
All right.
Here we go. Okay. So I am still uncertain about some things, but I'm gonna make some predictions.
Okay.
I'm going to say that this chord progression was 1, 6, 6, 4.
So that would have to be an F with a C in the bass.
Yeah, well, that sounded close to me, so yeah, maybe I'm right.
Yeah. Okay.
7 of 3.
7 of 3, which would be
7 of 3, 2, 3.
which is at C major.
Yeah, and I want to say that note in the soprano. I'm still not sure what note that is, but I'm going to predict that it goes up to G. I don't think it went all the way up to C.
You're correct.
Okay, good. Whew, I was sweating bullets over that one. 3, 2, 2.
There we are.
5, 1. Yeah. That sounds pretty... That's about as close as is going to get, man.
You got it, man. Ain't nothing else to say about it. You got it.
All right, excellent.
There is something else to say about it, actually. This is a fun one, because remember we talked about how in the minor key that the 2 chord, which is a 2 diminished, could either be its own 2 chord.
Right.
Or it could be, in this case, the 7 of 3, because that note is only a half step away from the following, scale degree.
Right. Hence our previous conversation. And I have no confidence at all that Jeremy didn't do some parallel fifths or parallel octaves or something like that. But, I
have no confidence at all that I did it.
Which might be the source of my confusion, because, the only thing I know for sure is Jeremy's fault.
We do have
just
an inversion
kidding.
here.
Just kidding.
Oh, I'm used to hearing that. That's okay. No, seriously.
Gosh. All right, so we've got one more of these, huh?
Yes, but I was going to go ahead and say that if you listen to this chord progression again, you'll get the opportunity to hear this particular chord, in this case, that B diminished chord, serve both functions, right? Because we start off doing 1, and then we do the 6th chord, right?
Yeah.
And then we have this 2 diminished, and this time it actually acts as the 7 of 5. I'm sorry, 7 of 3, because it goes to the 3. And then as we continue back down to this B diminished chord, now it actually is a 2, because it goes to 5.
Yeah.
And then it goes to 1.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that. I was so focused on figuring the stuff out that I didn't even realize that we were... Yeah, but we're using that 2 chord in both contexts. Interesting.
Dual purpose, all in one example. So
yeah. Oh,
that
man.
ain't 2 shabs.
Yeah.
That ain't 2 shabs. Okay.
If you really wanted to emphasize that is a 7 of 3 and not a 2 chord, you might add a fully diminished 7, right? Which would mean including the note A flat. Which there's no way that's a diatonic 2 chord, right?
Not at all.
Yeah, and then that would move to C. A flat moving down to G and all.
Or, okay, so. Yeah.
Interesting stuff. But all right.
I'd say so.
Thankfully, my torture is almost over.
I said, it sounds more like a massage.
So, we're going to move on. What does exercise 4 look like?
Well, again, we're going to be in the minor key. Good old C minor.
Okay.
3 flats in your key signature.
Right.
And this first chord is going to be... It's kind of spread out, and I apologize.
So that's starting with the soprano, with the tonic and the soprano this time.
Yeah, I haven't done that yet today. So.
We have not. You said we were in C minor? That sounds like C major.
That doesn't it?
There we go. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, fa, mi, do. Okay. All right. So I'm going to focus on the bass line. And let's see what happens. Oh, that was messed up.
Yeah, I don't like this one at all.
Okay, but I know, first of all, I know that it didn't end on tonic. Okay. That was the one thing that just really ticked me off. I love my cadences, my authentic cadences, and I didn't get one, and I'm just all mad about it. You know,
If that bothered you, I imagine Jay, the guitar player, is through the roof right now.
Yeah, I didn't get it. I'm all mad about it. I want to say that bass line, and I'm really, really uncertain about this. So give me some slack. But I want to say that bass line descended to 5 and hung out there until it moved up to 6 again.
Close, maybe. So shall I play that, or what do you?
Yeah, let's try that. Let's say it goes C, B flat, A flat to G, G, G sharp. No. I felt like that last chord was diminished, so I want to say maybe G, and then G and A flat to end the last 2 chords.
Okay. So ending like that. Okay.
Yeah, but I'm really uncertain about that, and I hate being this uncertain, but I want to say that was a minor key deceptive cadence with a passing tone, 7 of 6. There's a lot that's informing that. Obviously, I'm not just pulling that out of my you know what. First of all, I know what the name of this episode is. Second of all, I know what a deceptive cadence sounds like in the minor key, and it sounds kind of like that. But thirdly, I think that next to last chord sounded diminished, so it's sort of the only logical option right now. I'm not convinced until I hear more.
Okay.
I'm going to have to hear more by hearing the soprano, and let's listen to the soprano.
So the starting note was going to be this one right here.
So here we go. Okay, so if it went to an inner voice, then I'm going to say that went C to D to C, and then it hung out on Re, scale degree 2, D, D, and then did it go Ra, Do? So did it go scale degree flat 2 down to 1?
At the very end?
Yeah.
Actually,
Oh, okay, I see. So it goes down to B natural.
Mm-hmm.
Then stays on B natural.
Mm-hmm.
And then it is going to hit then it's going to hit B flat, I think, for the 7 of 6 chord.
Yes.
And then it's going to go up to C.
Okay, yeah.
All right.
I should have been playing along. So you're saying C,
C,
D,
D,
C,
C,
or 1, And then the leading tone B.
B natural.
Uh-huh.
B natural again.
Uh-huh. Leading tone B, yeah.
B flat.
Uh-huh.
And then C.
Back to 1. Okay.
That's almost modal. Wow.
Yeah, really.
Yeah. So that on top of our bass line, which was just sort of descending, right?
Uh-huh.
I'm getting a sense of the chords now, and I've almost in the course of this, I've almost have to shift my brain because this is more of like almost a modal progression, almost more of a like maybe a rock progression or a Celtic music progression or something than it is a classical progression. But I've shifted, and I'm going to say, okay, we definitely have a minor chord. And then we definitely have 1 down to 7 down to 6. That bass line is pretty iconic.
That's the Andalusian cadence, or at least the beginning of the Andalusian cadence, right?
Right, yeah.
Which is that whole
Yeah. So and then there's a couple of 5s, and then I'm pretty sure this ends with 7 of 6 to 6.
So you're feeling like that, huh? Okay.
Yeah. So, but let's see if concentrating on some of those chord qualities is going to help me out with that.
Okay.
All right. So,
third listen.
Major. 6. 5. 5 7. Yeah. Yeah. So I think we've got 1 7 6. And I know I'm supposed to be focusing on the qualities of the chords, but it's the qualities that are leading me to these functions, right? So we got a minor 1, and followed by a major that was 7, and then a major that was 6. And then we have a major 5 triad, followed by a 5 7 chord. That 7 was added.
Yeah. That was the only difference between those two chords, you're thinking?
Yeah, I really do think. And then 7 of 6 diminished chord to 6 that is major.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So it took a long time to get here, and I'm going to play it one last time just to confirm some of this.
And I shall be reading along and make sure you're right.
All right. Yeah, okay. So I feel pretty good about this now. 1 7 6 5 5 7 7 of 6 7 of 6 6.
Yeah. So, okay.
It sounded more like it was in Dorian mode, like an Irish jig or something, or an Irish ballad or something, rather than a purely classical composition. But it was kind of funny how I had to shift my brain into that to get that.
I feel like it has a lot to do with that flat 7.
Yeah, you're probably right.
This guy, because in minor you often end up sharpening that 7, so it has that
right
leading tone resolution at the
right
end.
And I wanted that melody to go C, D, E flat so bad.
Oh yeah, totally.
But it didn't do that.
So yeah, and what I did not like about this is just the fact that maybe what's happening here is because I start off with 1 7 6, and then there was just too much. Maybe there was just too much 5-ishness going on we had a 5, then we had a 5/7 chord. The 5/7 chord then kind of morphs into this 7 of 6 chord. And it's almost like by then you're almost a little bit lost. And then the 6 shows up.
I definitely got lost.
And you're like, what the hell key am I in again? Oh, yes, I was in the minor key. So this has got to be either some kind of mediant or a 7 chord or something like that, right?
Yeah.
And then,
so there you go. All right. Well, that was fun.
Yeah, man. We should do the rest like this.
I bet you would love that.
No, you did a fantastic job, man. I'm envious. And you didn't even sit there and write it all down. You just kind of sat there listening.
Yeah, next time I'm going to write it
down. But still, hey, I know we haven't done some good old ear training in a long time.
Absolutely.
And I enjoyed this, and it's inspiring me to get back into more of it. So y'all be ready for that.
Absolutely. Can't wait. And I guess there's not really much to recap, is there? We just did exercises.
Yep, I would just go back and listen again. You can go on our website at musicstudent101.com and then click on the episode, and you can actually go and see a little bit about the process that we used and maybe some examples, of building these kind of chords. But yeah, it's really all about listening for these episodes.
Yep, absolutely. So go have a good listen, and we'll see you next time.
We hope you enjoyed that little workout. There's so much more listening to do. So stick with us. And if you're interested in a new way to support us, check out our website and social media pages for links to our shop at redbubble.com. And as always, for questions or comments, email us at info@musicstudent101.com.